What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking about something that's really actually interesting, and I could honestly talk about this for days. We're going to be talking about generating a full-time income on the internet. I guess you could say through print on demand. Really what inspired this video was somebody who commented, said, is it possible to generate a full-time income just on Redbubble? The answer is yes, it is possible. I've shown different, I guess you could say, tutorials, different videos, different explanations as to how that's actually done. And if you do everything properly for a whole entire year without messing up, doing essentially the right things, tagging your work properly, designing to at least average or above average, doing some marketing, doing some promotion, titling your works properly, treating Redbubble like a full-time hustle, even though not for full-time. When I say full-time, I don't mean necessarily 40 hours a week. I just mean putting in your effort, right? Putting in your full effort. I'm not talking about 15 minutes a day either, right? So I don't want you guys to get that confused, but doing the things that are necessary to become a full-time income, the answer is absolutely. It could be a full-time income. The question is, the magic question is, by when, right? Is it by a year, by 4 months, 2 months? What is the number on that? And I'm going to say that you're probably going to have to do at least, for most people, at least a few years up front. And here's the reason why. Now, I know some people are going to get confused right now and be like, well, Mark, didn't you say that you can make a full-time income on Redbubble by doing 60 designs per day for a whole entire year? And the answer is absolutely. But ask yourself this. How many people actually do that? The answer is almost nobody. In fact, in a majority of people on the platform, we're talking about 80% of people, have never made a sale in their whole entire life on the platform. Now, 80% is a lot, but if you take the other 20%, it's also a lot. Because by now, there are over 900,000 sellers on Redbubble, easily. Maybe over 1 million even. And you're looking at, could be close to 250,000 people, close to 200,000, even at least 100,000 people who are constantly getting sales. Now, here's the thing about that, guys. If 80% of the people have 30 designs or less on average, right? Ask yourself this logically. How many people are designing on a daily basis, getting sales every day, and creating a full-time income? The answer is not much. Now, there's a few reasons why. There's the emotional side to it, right? The emotional side to business, and this is why a lot of people say, if you're emotional, you're going to not succeed in business, you're going to fail in business. They say that because they know that the road to success on Redbubble is a long path. That not just Redbubble, but entrepreneurship in general. So what my suggestion would be is take a multifaceted approach. If that's your goal, truly, to become full-time income in the fastest amount of time period, you have to realize that Redbubble has a cap on the amount of work that you can produce. You can't just create 700 designs a day, even if you wanted to. You just can't do that. They have a hard cap of 60 designs per day, okay? When you create your 60 designs per day, there are other platforms that you have not yet explored. You have your Zazzle, you have your TeePublic, you have all that. And if you're truly dedicating a full-time hourly schedule, we're talking about from 9 to 5, right, with 1 hour break in between, 5 times a week, you are essentially going to be producing full-time amount of work. The question is, like I said, is ask yourself logically, how many people can actually do that? How many people could just leave their jobs, leave everything that's being produced for them, and then work 8 hours a day on this side hustle, hoping that in 1 year it's going to pay itself off? Now, a lot of problems come into this, and this is why I've explored these problems, and I've mentioned them here on YouTube before, where I talked about having the idea of multiple stores, because what if one thing goes wrong with having one store or 2 stores, right? What if a store gets deleted or blocked or banned? What if, something happens where, there's a whole bunch of different what ifs, right? What if I lose my password? What if I get hacked? What if, anything, right? Anything can happen. And that's why I say diversification is important. Now, here's the thing. when you diversify, by the nature of it, it's going to slow you down because you're going to have to learn the nuances to each platform. It took me a few months to learn Redbubble. It took me many months to learn Zazzle. I told you guys this on Zazzle, but the first 3 months, I did not get a single sale. On the last day of the third month, which is a little bit over 90 days, I finally had a bulk order, luckily happened, and then I started to become inquisitive on the platform, right? TeePublic, on the other hand, I was doing very, very well within the first month. Like I said, I've spoken about this before, but within the first month, I've had over $1,000 in sales, like literally right over $1,000 in sales in my first month on TeePublic. So the reality is each platform is drastically different. And I've also had another comment of somebody asking me, I can't remember exactly who it was, but somebody asked me for the course, the Autopilot Passive Income Redbubble tagging course, does this information apply to other platforms? The answer is strictly no. Absolutely not. You're not going to be able to take the information from the Redbubble tagging course and apply it to Zazzle, apply it to TeePublic, apply it to all these other platforms. Unfortunately, that is the case. Do I wish that every single one of these platforms were built the same? Yes, I do. But unfortunately, they're not. And they have different, essentially, setups for different ways to tag to be seen properly on these platforms, including Society 6. I didn't even mention Society 6. That's something I'm heavily doing behind the scenes. I didn't even talk about that. All these different platforms, guys, have different things that make them, I guess you could say, valuable. And you're not going to be able to experience their true value unless you really jump face forward front. Now, be realistic with yourself. Can you generate a full-time income? The answer is absolutely. It just depends on what you're willing to do to achieve it. Some people will literally need to spend 8 hours a day on this stuff to be able to get there. Now, I'm not talking about 8 hours watching YouTube videos, watching TV, doing whatever. No, I'm talking about as in a real job. Like you sit down as if your boss was sitting on your neck, right? Standing on your neck and saying, why aren't you working? And you got to sit there and you got to design for 8 hours. You got to learn how to tag properly, upload. You know, if you spent literally 8 hours designing, tagging, research, doing all that. And by the way, researching is a little bit like, honestly, it's overplayed. I go over this in the tagging course, to be 100% honest with you. I don't do research as much as people might think. I see people who can sit there and research literally for hours. It's just a little overrated, to be 100% honest. I've been doing very, very well with my method of designing and tagging, and I really haven't had to invest in research, but let's just mention research for just a minute. Researching, all that kind of stuff, you know, you can really get lost in it, but you have to be able to stay productive. Now, assuming that you can do 8 hours of productive work every single day, you're going to be in a completely different ballpark compared to other people. I mean, you're going to be able to essentially what you do in a day, people will do in a month. I mean, just put it that way, because let's face the reality. Let's face facts. In terms of work production, I'm not talking about the researching aspect. I'm not talking about pontificating, thinking, and learning. I'm talking about production. The designs that you're putting on a screen, right? Whether it's the tagging, the titling, all that. If you add up all that time together, how long realistically do some people do in a month? 8 hours? If we're generous on that? And like I said, we're not counting the titling, we're not counting we're not counting the niche research, we're not talking about all that. We're talking about the actual production, the tagging, the titling, the uploading of the actual work. How much time can be quantified for that? Most people can't even clock in 8 hours a month. So my point is, and I'm not saying you have to either, I'm just saying, imagine if you did do that. I mean, you probably make more than a full-time income. I'll give you guys an example of what I do. When we're doing 60 designs per day, it takes a half hour. I've shown how to do this before, but the POD design course goes specifically through this. I have a video that is like 34 minutes long on the POD design course where you can literally see me designing. I don't even say a single word in the video. Designing for 34 minutes straight, and I create 60 plus designs. I think it was like 63 designs. And that's without the niche research. And by the way, in those videos, I show the way that I designed already took care of the niche research aspect for me. It took care of all the extra things that I don't have to do that other people waste time on, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to do, like I said, 8 hours plus of work. That's, not to say that it's ridiculous, but that's a full-time thing. I don't even do full-time. I'm just saying if you did full-time, assuming that you're doing everything right, some people are going to take a little bit longer to get to that full-time income. Some people are going to do it very, very quickly. With that being said, you still have that one aspect that we all can't ignore. And the reality is we don't own the platform. And if we don't own the platform, we're in big trouble because everybody else has the companies have the control over our success. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out. Bye.